Just here behind me who talk the talk but actually don't take any action. And I want to congratulate the students in Trinity for their solidarity and their determination and their courage indeed for taking the action that they're taking. They're going to continue. I was with them last night. They're going to continue their occupation. It may well spread to other colleges in Ireland, and we've seen how in Amsterdam and Paris and across America and in Britain indeed, students are responding to this global movement against the genocide in Gaza. Coinciding with that, we wrote to the Ceann Comhairle on the 23rd of April and again on the 1st of May, requesting that the Oireachtas fly the Palestinian flag on Nakba Day. Nakba Day is the 15th of May, it's next Wednesday, and that celebrates, or marks, not celebrates, but marks the catastrophe, which is what Nakba means, when in 1948 the Palestinian lands were emptied of Palestinian people, forced into exile, never to return, and so Palestinians have been, for 78 years now, marking that day as the point at which their land was stolen from them and they were forcibly and violently removed from the land. So Nakba Day is important. The students in Trinity, one of their demands is that the college fly the flag on Nakba Day, and we want the Ceann Comhairle to do likewise here. We haven't heard back yet, we haven't had confirmation, but they are considering it, and we'll make an announcement when and if that happens, and absolutely hope it does, because the consequences of what Israel are doing in Rafah are just unthinkable. It's just, nobody has words anymore to describe how dreadful, catastrophic and deadly these actions are. And today we'll also mark Europe Day, and we'll be making a contribution on how it is that Europe has stood behind, beside and for Israel and has not actually done anything to stop the genocide in Gaza. And the second thing I want to mention, just because we've been pushing it now that the election campaign is well and truly up and running, we have called for a pact with other parties and independents to vote left and transfer left. And we are doing so because what we really need to see in this country is Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael evicted from government after the 100 years that they have dominated Irish politics, and for a genuine left to emerge. And so we've written to all the parties asking them to partake in such a call, which would also be very important in terms of facing down racism and scapegoating of migrants, which is very much a feature of this election. So there's the two things I wanted to
Breed, you didn't include the Labour Party.
No, we didn't, because...
But you included Sinn Féin, who have been criticised in recent months for a move more to the right with their stance on the immigration pact, with their stance on hate. So how do you justify including Sinn Féin, who are moving to the right but not Labour, who would argue they're very firmly on the left?
Well, I think it's because we prove in action what we mean. Like, you can say many things in words. Sinn Féin haven't been tested yet, Labour have. And Labour have gone into coalition with both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in the past and pursued policies that are counter to what the left stands for. Sinn Féin still talk left, even if they have moved their position on migration. They are still talking left, and they are still focused on the issues of housing, healthcare, and indeed getting rid of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael out of power. Now, we've put it up to Sinn Féin to declare that they will not do a deal with either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, and they haven't answered that question. I have my own ideas about it, but we want to speak to Sinn Féin voters and say we want you as Sinn Féin voters to pursue this and push Sinn Féin to the left and keep them left. They are still on the economic spectrum, at least still on the left, and we want to keep that.
Do you accept they're moving to the right?
On immigration, I do, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Two other... Well, actually, I just want to say something about the... if you don't mind, Breed, on the question of the threats being made against Trinity students, I think is a very, very important issue, as well as the substantive issue of why they are protesting and the horrors that Israel are inflicting on the people in Gaza and Rafah. It is an absolute disgrace that the college authorities in Trinity College are trying to intimidate and threaten students who want to take action against a genocide. And the idea of threatening enormous fines against a student union and threatening penalties and possible expulsions of student activists from the student union, from the postgraduate workers organisation, or from any student who would take a moral stand against the absolute horror and genocide that we are witnessing in Gaza is really shocking from a university or from any institution of higher education. I mean, surely anybody who cares about education would think it is a good thing that students would pursue principles like opposing genocide. So one of the things we will be saying to the government very clearly is, are they going to tolerate a situation where a university or higher education institution is trying to bully, threaten and intimidate student unions and students for taking a principled and moral stand over a genocide in Gaza? I just also want to refer people to the debate on special needs tomorrow. This is a debate that People Before Profit requested at the Business Committee a number of weeks ago, and we did so because I've been absolutely inundated with urgent needs in both education and generally in terms of assessments, access to services. And we held a number of meetings around the country in the city where we had large numbers of parents, of teachers attending those meetings, really recounting desperate stories of the lack of resources and supports available to their children. And we think Simon Harris, as someone who has an association with the issue of special needs and disability, really has a big responsibility now to address what is an epic fail by this government on the question of special needs. The issues are manifold. The fact that 1/3 of schools have actually lost special education teaching resources as a result of a new algorithm which has removed complex needs from the criteria for allocating special education teaching resources. The fact that there are schools that are massively oversubscribed for ASD classes that are begging the Department of Education to provide them with the sanction for additional classes, and for inexplicable reasons they are being refused by the Department of Education. And then there's more widely the chronic understaffing of child and disability network teams, of CAMS, and across all of these areas what has become absolutely clear is that staffing is the problem, right? There is a chronic lack of staff, teachers, special education teachers and people in the CAMS and Child and Disability Network teams, and the government seems to be doing absolutely nothing about it. Instead, it seems to be shifting around the deck chairs, massaging waiting lists, but not actually going on a massive recruitment drive to recruit teachers and to recruit the teams necessary for the Child and Disability Network teams and the CAMS teams. So we will be there will be families and individuals who have children with special needs coming in tomorrow to that debate, and we hope to put maximum pressure on the government to address what we think is a dire situation for children with special needs and an epic fail by the government to address that situation. The other thing I just want to mention, I raised this last week with Simon Harris and I'll be raising it again this week, is the Dublin-Monaghan bombings 50th anniversary. I've been in touch with the families recently and have played a very small part in supporting the production of a new film that is opening this Friday in the Lighthouse, which is a documentary film made, directed by Joe Lee and produced by Fergus Dowd in collaboration with the Dublin-Monaghan bombing families and survivors, which is posing very, very serious questions about the failure of the British and Irish state authorities to ever really fully disclose all they know about those bombings, when it is, fully well known that loyalist paramilitaries were involved, but widely believed that there was collusion of the British state. But a very particular ask we will be making, as I made of Simon Harris last week, and he said he would look into it, so we'll be asking him, did he look into it this week, is why the Garda files, why the files in the possession of the Irish state have never been released about the Dublin-Monaghan bombing. Quite extraordinary, and raises very, very concerning questions, and it's one of the issues that will be addressed in the film that is premiering on Friday, but we'll be raising that once again with the government this week in the Dáil to see what are they going to do to change that situation and to give the Dublin-Monaghan bombing families the truth, justice and the information they need to try and get some sort of closure and truth about what happened to their loved ones and their relatives.
On special needs education and training, the chair or the co-chair in the University of Ireland yesterday, Nessa Hill, said she didn't believe that there was no political payoff for Simon Harris for the Taoiseach to change and to bring in reform before the next general election. That there was essentially a huge amount of work to do in that space. Would you agree that despite what, as you mentioned, he has links with himself, that she doesn't believe that there's any political reasoning and political gain?
Well, I think that would be a very cynical mindset for the government to adopt if they're deciding whether to address the needs of vulnerable children, many thousands of vulnerable children who need assistance, need support in order to fully develop and realise their potential. If the government have a cynical sort of, well, there's no votes in this attitude, that would be I also think it would be a serious mistake because in our experience recent weeks, there are huge amounts of parents and families and communities are very, very angry about the failure of the government to provide the support and the services that their children need in education.